So I want to share like a really simple system that I've developed for creating content that needs to be expert driven. And one of the challenges with doing this, we're talking about essentially ghostwriting for CEO or for a technical leader. And one of the hardest challenges is just the complexity of the time involvement. No CEO or busy person at all for that matter wants to have 90-minute meetings to talk about their content. Nobody wants to have an email with 10 questions they have to go through and think hard about. Nobody wants to have multiple meetings with several people involved to talk about what to write and go through this whole long process. It's so inefficient. And so I wanted to develop a method where we could basically have questions that somebody could answer with a voice recording or via text, whatever they preferred, and they could do it on the go. And my perfect vision of this is like busy person hopping in a cab, going to somewhere across town, hopping in an Uber maybe. They're going to remember, I got this piece of content I got to record something for. Open up their phone, check their question, record it right there on their phone when they're on their drive, and imagine that was your entire LinkedIn strategy, for example. Like you didn't have to do anything else. Your account was taken care of. But the result is you had really high quality content going out. So you could do this with a simple WhatsApp chat or a Slack chat or something like that. You could do it that way. However, if you're an agency working with clients, or if you have multiple people that need to weigh in on a topic, it can also be useful to use Typeform. So that's what I've set up here. So, here's a nice intro, which you don't need if you're doing this a lot, but you could also have a nice intro. I have a video, I have a name thing written here, an intro thing written here, personalized. Obviously, you change the name. And then you set this up pretty easily. You can add content. You can choose from all these options, multiple choice, long text, whatever it is. So basically for this system, I wanted to give a few options of what they could talk about, because you might not want to answer the exact question that's being posed to you, but maybe a different one you do want to answer. So here we need to write LinkedIn posts for this individual. So we have here, 3 potential questions they could answer. And now under workflow, we have some logic that we've built. If you've ever built like an email automation tool, this is pretty straightforward. But basically, there's just a simple breakdown. If they choose the answer A, then they go to card 2. And what's card 2 doing? Well, card 2 is asking them that question. What was the exact moment? Yada, yada, yada. Here's a question. Then they can choose to answer by video, audio, or text. And if whatever they choose, next thing is it'll ask them if they want to add additional information. And then that's it. And then they're done. And then it just says, thank you. And that's it. And imagine, you could send this to several people in your organization. You can get the results here. You can review them. And you can immediately start working on that content. And the idea is to have posts going up, whether they're blog posts, LinkedIn, newsletters, whatever they are, to get the expert opinions shared to the content team so that you don't have to have follow-up calls and all of that. And it's all streamlined.